How fitting. So I know my usual audience doesn't really care much for Zelda videos, but I spent a lot of my time watching theory videos on Zelda throughout the interwebs, and I've got a question that no one seems to have an answer to. So, guys, why isn't there a Sheikah Champion?
We learn in Breath of the Wild's story that 10,000 years in the past, the Sheikah were incredibly advanced compared to the other races in Hyrule. They apparently created the Guardians and the Divine Beasts as a method of defense against Calamity Ganon. At that time, their plan worked out perfectly and they successfully sealed Ganon away with the help of their inventions. But the royal family at the time was starting to fear that the Sheikah would become a threat due to their ability to engineer such advanced weaponry. So they banished the Sheikah and tried to get rid of all their tech. As most of us know, this betrayal is what led to the creation of the Yiga clan. Alright, so let's talk about the first Calamity event. If the Sheikah were the ones who invented the Divine Beasts, why wouldn't they be the ones piloting them? Or at the very least, why didn't they have their own champion representative like all the other races? Minus the Koroks, but they don't really seem particularly war-inclined. Wouldn't it make sense to have the people who know most about the Divine Beasts operating at least one of them? You could chalk this up to an oversight by Nintendo, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe in the events leading up to the first Calamity attack, the royal family was already feeling sorta threatened by the power that the Sheikah had in their technology. Perhaps the king intentionally chose champions from other races from Hyrule in order to make sure that the Sheikah didn't become too powerful and try to use their machines to take over the kingdom after the business with the Great Calamity was all finished. So my personal theory is that the king wanted other allies to know how to operate Sheikah technology just in case they tried to overthrow the royal family. He intentionally didn't select a champion from the Sheikah tribe. In fact, it might just be possible that the whole idea of champions was something he came up with so that the Sheikah wouldn't feel slighted when he didn't want them piloting their own beasts. The king was probably like, oh hey, I want everyone to be included in this effort to stop Ganon, so I'll get someone from the Gerudos, Gorons, Zoras, and Rito, and Sheikah, since you guys made all this stuff, you don't really have to do anything else. I think we're good with this. So some of the Sheikah were rightfully pretty pissed off about how the king was treating their tribe. Since the beginning of the Zelda timeline, the Sheikah have been close allies and loyal servants of the royal family. Why would their king be treating them like enemies and banish them? I'd be pissed off too. But I guess if you look back on the history of Hyrule, the Hylian Civil War happened, and history tends to repeat itself here. Now let's talk about the second Great Calamity event that happens just before we start Breath of the Wild. The royal family has rediscovered all this ancient Sheikah technology, and the king gathers 4 champions again to pilot the Divine Beasts. Considering that King Rome appears to be closely allied with the Sheikah, it's a bit odd that yet again there's no Sheikah champion. Pyrrha, Impa, and Robbie were all young at the time and perfectly capable candidates. And we know that the Sheikah were working closely with the royal family at this time because we see in one of Link's memories that when he falls, Zelda orders 2 Sheikah men to take Link to the Shrine of Resurrection. It's doubtful that they would just show up if they weren't working closely with her. So what the hell is going on here? What makes Urbosa, Daruk, Mipha, and Revali more qualified to pilot these divine beasts than the descendants of the people who created them in the first place? Well, I'm not so sure there's an answer for this one. You could argue that the champions all have powers which make them special candidates, and that the Sheikah I mentioned don't have cool lightning attacks or the ability to fly on command. But are those powers just there for gameplay purposes, or do they serve a purpose to this story? It's also possible that the king was just following the same course of action taken by his ancestors out of tradition.
We don't really know right now, but it's possible that the Champions Ballad DLC will shed some light on this. To be honest though, I kinda doubt that's gonna happen. Let me know what you guys think about this theory in the comments below. Let me know if I missed anything, if I left something out, or if I'm just a big bumbling idiot. I'd love to hear it. I've been your gaming source, and thanks for tuning in.